In this hand, we're going to get ourselves into another situation where we call a re-raise in position and find ourselves in a spot where we think it's profitable to shove the flop over this continuation bet. We still have our standard aggressive image. We raise the cutoff, which naturally indicates we got a pretty wide range if anybody's paying attention. And we get 3-bet from the big blind, who's an aggressive player. So we call. This flop, we'll notice, is one that he's probably going to continue on most of the time. It's also worth noting that he continuation bets a rather large amount. If he had a very strong hand, like aces or kings, he probably wouldn't need to bet that much on this flop. If he wants to get called by a worse hand, he can bet less, sort of sucker us in a little bit, give us a better price on it. But this bet size kind of looks like he's really trying to take it down. He's trying to scare us off of a lot of mid pairs, I think, with a size bet like this. I also think that if we do shove here, he's going to have to fold ace king. Obviously. He's going to have to give very strong consideration to folding a lot of his mid pairs. The sevens, eights, nines, if he even shows up with hands like that. And of course, anything that's like otherwise unpaired, he's going to have to fold. Obviously, he's not going to fold big pairs if he does have those, but I don't think that he has those very much in comparison to the rest of his range. There's also an off chance that he calls here with a worse hand if he has a suited connector of some sort and has a flush draw or a straight draw. But in general, if I get called here, it's going to be by a pair, and I'm gonna have pretty low equity, but I am gonna have some equity almost always, which is unlike the last hand. So in this case, I think my fold equity is a little bit lower against his range, but I think that my pot equity is a little bit higher. So overall, this amount that I stand to gain by making the shove here is probably similar. And so again, I shove all in over the top, and he folds. Again, this is a play that will work fairly often, but it works most often when you use it in moderation. If people think that you are doing this too much, they're going to start calling you with weaker and weaker hands. At which point it'll be your best bet to ease back a little bit and start doing it with your biggest hands, and then it's just a one-way ticket to Value Town. So, saddle up. Here is one more hand that's pretty similar to the last two, but just illustrates one more ramification at the same point. In this spot, again, we raise the button with what's a pretty large range. We get re-raised by somebody with another wide range, and we call, expecting to outplay him on our flops. This is a pretty fantastic flop for us to play back on because it misses all of his overcards. We've got a gut shot, we've got a backdoor flush draw, both of which add some good equity. Not great equity, of course, but there's some equity there if we do get called. And we feel like we can push him off of his hand most of the time by shoving, so we do. And he folds. It should be worth noting that in all these situations we've made this move with essentially a full-on bluff, or sometimes a semi-bluff. But this is on boards like this is often the same way you should be playing your big pairs, because they can be construed as a semi-bluff pretty often. So consider making the same play with aces, with your kings, with your queens, and they will end up calling with worse hands more often than not.